Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Hey, you Gumpers! Hola, bon dia, alegria. How are you this morning? Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream show and podcast from expatsportugal.com. Hope you're feeling great this morning. How was your weekend? Do let me know in the chat and in the comments. As Slug on a Rug, Coach Turner, Nunu, Barry, T-Duck, and AGL's here. Deagle, Pam, Porky Feet, Andy. Thank you. I'm going to play your video in just a minute, Andy. That lovely video you sent my way. And Jeff Hill in Porto. How you doing, Jeff? And yeah, a bit of sun on your face, Carl. Absolutely right. Coming through. The shutters are down. It is Portuguese hot weather management in operation this morning. So yeah, some lovely sun coming through the slats of the shutters this morning, just to give you an idea what's going on over here on the Silver Coast. And of course, we'll have a look at the weather all over the country and just be aware of what's going on. Have a look at the ProSiv website as well to see how the Bombeiros have got everything under control. Spoke to a mate of mine, another Carl, my namesake in over there in central Portugal. Again, speaking highly of the work of the Bombeiros, putting a blaze out over Fundão way over the weekend. Hope everybody's okay over there. And Shano, a new name, I should say hi. I imagine you're here to talk with Gilda. Shano Himasha. Shano, a lot of people come on a Monday to speak with Gilda and have their Migration Monday questions answered. This Monday, I think Gilda did mention it, didn't she, last week, that she would be on holiday. And she is being, her deputy is in. CRISTINA will be joining us this morning. She sent me a message to say her train is a little bit late arriving, so she'll be at work a little bit later than planned. But after 9 o'clock, she'll be joining us. So you'll get to meet CRISTINA if you don't know her already, who's a legend in the migration business here in Portugal. Lots of people very happy to have CRISTINA on their side. I know I was speaking to some folks in the process. Oh, Ishara Mudawanti as well, joining us this morning. Bon dia, Carl. Bon dia to you, Ishara. Great to have your company here. Yeah, I was talking to some folks about CRISTINA. Well, there comes a point when a VFS is dragging their feet, and there's a 90-day. Apparently, we'll ask CRISTINA about this when she arrives. But there's a threshold by which the VFS should have answered your inquiry and helped you process your visa. Excuse me a minute. You may have heard something tickling me there. I think I've sorted that out now. I've got my feet on something. You can see I've got a new chair. The keen-eyed among you might notice I've got a big high-back chair, very comfortable, and a new monitor, which is huge, in front of my face here. And there's something under the floor, which I thought was Jimmy Chu's paw, but he's not in the office. I think it's just the power supply. Just made a few changes in the studio over the weekend. Anyway, yeah, VFS, dragging their feet, 90 days. Come on, CRISTINA's going in this morning. And we'll find out more about her and what she does and how she goes about it, because she is a legend at EIA, Migrante Asesoria, and she'll be with us soon after 9 o'clock. So calma, tranquilo. You just get there when you get there. It's beyond your control by the sound of it, CRISTINA, and we look forward to seeing you in a little while. Okay, I want to play a video now by way of a slightly different introduction. Oh, dad jokes, Portuguese sayings, fantastic. And of course, before 9, around 1:45, James from, well, the Slug on a Rug he's calling himself today, and the thoughts from the Redwoods. But I just thought this might be a really nice start to your day this morning. Andy sent me a message. Now, with this new monitor, I haven't managed to make the screens go side by side. I've just got a duplication. I don't even need the bottom screen, so to speak, at the moment. I can look you in the eye, except when I'm looking at my phone here. And I'm doing that to find out what Andy's been up to this weekend. Carnival procession we went to in Agada I think he went out twice yesterday, once on his bicycle in the morning on a thousands of kilometer trip, and then over to Agada, who have had the most amazing festival over the last 10 days, possibly something like that, a little bit like we did here on the Silver Coast, a long festival, much fun, many hangovers, I suspect, and the whole town getting together to put on something of this quality. I'd like you to watch this now, and this will see us into the week with a nice shimmy. Oh, where are we? Stop moving about everything. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Here we go. Here we go. Oh, I say, that's put some wind in some sails around the world. I think this morning that is Ajit Agada. Agada, you probably know. I mean, if you're thinking, what's he talking about? Agada is the wonderful town in Portugal that is famous for its multicolored and beautifully coloured umbrellas that hang from the many of the streets and alleyways of Agada. It's a great little town. We used to live near there, and this is. I think they see themselves as quite a bohemian and bit of a party capital as well, culturally. So I mean, not necessarily, not so much the party, more the culture. Hence the umbrellas and when you go there, there's just a public art everywhere. They're changing it, doing new things, and the high point, the climax of their cultural year. The lovely 10 days or so of partying, which of course you would have found out about in our events listing guide at expatsportugal.com/what's on, where Andy has been very busy indeed. Make sure you're logged in. I think that's what we need to say, isn't it, Andy? Make sure you're logged in. Oh, whilst we're talking about things that are going on, I'm just turning off that screen to look at another one. Andreas, who comes along to our Silver Coast meetup, sent me a message. Please share this with the group if you don't mind. TEDx, if you like a bit of a TED talk, there's a TEDx happening at Alcabaca. I think it's this week. I'm going to put the details for you on the screen in just a minute anyway, and you can find out for yourself. But yeah, TEDx Alcabaca, a very interesting theme, I have to say. That's going into the chat now. TEDx Alcabaca, and the theme, if it will load for me, maybe I'll have to look at the situation around the country and come back to. No, we've got it now. Embrace the unknown. Is what's going on. In the current context, we all live in a hyper-globalized world, says TEDx Alcabaca 2022, in which information and knowledge flow at a dizzying pace. Yes, well, we do our best to keep it at a calma, tranquilo, a serene pace here on the Good Morning Portugal show. But we get the point, don't we? Dizzying pace of hyper-globalized information and technology, making it complex to keep up. In this scenario, the ability to develop the correct tools to deal with the unknown is vital. Keeping in complementarity, what is that? The unchanging will to absorb new and diverse knowledge that can enrich us in the most diverse prisms of our existence. Prisms with an M. Now I'm thinking, okay, that's going to be very interesting, no question about that. And that's from July the 23rd. Okay, and that's what that starts. That is just, it's a one-day event. Okay, one-day event next Saturday in Alquibi, and an independently organized TED event. So you know what a TED Talk is. A TEDx is, I guess, a kind of a franchise where you're allowed to put on your own TED event under certain guidelines and rules. So that one happening, and the hyper-globalized blah-de-blah, prisms of your consciousness. And I would say, why don't we slow things down a bit rather than learning how to cope with it? There comes a point. Imagine James might have something to say about that. I wonder if we can slow down the flow of globalized, hyper-digitalized doobie-doobie-doo. Or if we can, learning to cope with it is one thing, but maybe slowing things down at source is another part of it as well. Let's go say hello to a few of you whilst I'm sharing the weather and the blaze situation with you. Let's go first then to ProSiv. We'll have a quick look at the weather and then come back to a few of your comments, and I'll look at those with James. I think that's probably the best thing to do, isn't it? Given that we've got so much to pack in this morning. So the ProSiv website, which is a very, very good resource indeed, And let me bring that onto the screen so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. There you go. We have, oh, nice background, Carl. How did that happen? Anyway, the ProCiv in the events, number of events, total events of an emergency nature happening in Portugal at the moment, 212. Ongoing, 178. And I take it as a good sign that there's only one aircraft involved at the moment. At the height of this, I think there have been, maybe half a dozen aircraft in the sky dousing flames. None in resolution or conclusion at the moment. They seem to be ongoing, 178. I don't know what's happened to 212 total events minus 178, but you get a sense of the scale of what's going on in Portugal at the moment, as the temperatures will be high again today, and some of the climatic conditions will be there that are sadly supportive catalysts for wildfires. But this is a great site. Again, I will put this into the chat for you so you can see what you're looking at. And yeah, I'll just give you the stub of that, prociv.pt, and I'll make sure that goes into the chat. But it gives you district-based listings of what's going on and around the country. And if you use this in conjunction with Fogos.pt, you shouldn't go too far amiss. And I don't know why my camera's gone now, but it has. So I'm just gonna talk to you through the vibrating porthole. No, it's back again now. Weird. How weird is this? Just trying to, putting a new. I'm in the middle of a hyper-globalized digital phenomenon myself here, and learning how to cope. But thankfully, I've got James standing by who will give me good counsel on this. But let me not forget to put prociv.pt into the chat for you, that resource there. And then let's have a look at the weather, at the risk of putting myself through the vibrating porthole again. And we'll have a look at the Expats Portugal weather for you, including we have a link to the weather station, the Óbidos weather station, which is taken care of by our very own Phil and Maria over that way. So here is the weather in Portugal this morning. Let's see what you're in for. I know in the UK, sent my mother a message. Some of the highest temperatures recorded ever there in London are predicted for this week, 100 plus in the Fahrenheit. So be careful if you're tuned in from the UK this morning. There's the live station weather feed at the top of the page, whilst the rest of the page loads. There's a lot of digits coming through. That's why it's taking so long, folks, this morning. And we'll probably, if it ever lands on the screen, we'll take a look at Lisbon first. There you go, 68 at the moment, rising to 77 in Fahrenheit. Sunny day, sunny 3 days, the first 3 days of this week, looking good for Lisbon. Lovely sunny week to come, certainly till midweek. 25 Fahrenheit, 20... No, forget that. Not 25 Fahrenheit, 25 centigrade, the high in Lisbon today, 77. Currently 20 and 68, respectively. A mere 19 in Porto and Porto. No, I'm learning that people like it when I say, when I try my American accent. So the weather in Porto, 19. No, it's only 31, 30. It's going to be 23. No, I haven't got it in Fahrenheit there. Double that, 46. 76 and Porto, 19 currently though with a clear sky and a little bit of rain. Look at that rain in Porto. Sunnier days Wednesday and Thursday, but look, 19 at the moment, 23 the high. Getting myself all confused with Fahrenheit and centigrade. Double it and add 30. That's all you have to do. Coimbra 19 at the moment, rising to 31. However, be careful there. Faro a mere 26, 24 at the moment, and sunny. Similarly to the capital, sunny days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, rising to heady heights of 28 in Faro. So a little bit of a let up on the highest of the temperatures, which is no bad thing and still very comfortable. If we look for the hot spots, then 34 is the high in Beja today. So Alentejo feeling it. Braga 27 the high, Castelo Branco 33. So still we have over there in central Portugal high temperatures. 33 the high today in Castelo Branco, 33 in Évora. Leiria 27, that's my district. 32 in Santarém, however, nice and hot coming up from the capital. 32 in Viseu as well. Bragança 35, possibly the hottest today, interestingly, up in the north. 33 Porto Alegre, 29 in Guarda. Setúbal 25, Viana do Castelo 23, Vila Real 33. So central and north, be careful with that heat. Some rain though forecast in Viana do Castelo and Porto this morning. In the regions, then the autonomous regions, the Azores at 24 and Madeira, Paradise at 17 degrees centigrade. There you go. Am I talking through a vibrating porthole? No, I'm not. We're good. We're back in business. Okay. It's a bit late to bring him onto the screen. How rude of me, depriving him of moments of airtime, boosts to your consciousness this morning. But I've got to play his jingle. He can't come on without the lovely guitar music that is synonymous with James. He just put his head in his hands for some reason there. Is it because I'm waffling on too long and the suspense is killing you, James? I think it might be. That could be it. After this, then. James. Was I going on a bit too long there?
No, when you said you were keeping me off, I tried to make what I thought looked like a sad face, like I was just back here waiting, so sadly waiting for my time.
For your moment to come. It is here, James. Slug on a rug this morning. How are you? Tudo bem?
I'm doing fabulous, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Busy weekend, getting ready for the in-laws who are coming to stay for a few weeks. In fact, going way past the guest rule of 3 days. Should be like a fish.
3 days.
3 days and they're off. Yes, but no, 3 weeks it is. It's going to be fantastic to see him, I have to say. But it's funny. I don't know if you're like this. Some people live. They have their house the same all the time. So when they welcome guests, they don't have to do a lot of work. I noticed that when we have a royal visit like this, we notice that we live in squalor for the rest of the time. I don't know how you fit into that. Do you make a lot of effort? Should people come to stay?
No, not really.
Take you as you find you.
In the past, back my old life back in California, it was just good friends and family. So who cares? It's like,
That's the spirit. Be careful. Mind the old pizzas on the table there. I'll move them one day. Yeah, I see. Okay, very good. Very good. I think that shows a great sense of self-esteem and personal security, which of course you talked to us about on a Monday morning. What has been on your mind in this department?
A couple of things. You just reminded my good friend in California who's been helping me with taking care of U.S. business that still needs to get done, like driver's license stuff. She and I made a pact at one point years ago that we never have to clean our house for each other. So that was just very relieving. It's like, all right, we are going to love each other less because our houses are messy. Which reminds me that I know Rebel Mama has made mention of the bureaucracy in the state of California with the Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, which handles the certified driving record. I waited, well, let's see. Initially, I submitted the application with the money. They sent the whole thing back 3 weeks later saying they wanted an original signature. I had attached a copy of my signature on the form, but they wanted original. So went through the process of reprinting, remailing, sending off to the United States for a week or two to get there, and then proceeded to wait 4 months. And finally, I'm the same friend in California has been helping me with this. And she said, still haven't heard anything. They haven't even processed my check. And I said, okay, well, I guess we'll start it all over again. And last Thursday, I put the second signed application in the mail to her so she could then forward it to the DMV. And on Friday, the original came back with the certified copy. So 4 months later, I took it as kind of giving the universe a nudge, saying, come on.
and right enough, it happened.
Yeah, sometimes it does. That we were both astounded. It's like, what? Okay, well, there it is. Let's get it going. So now we're on to the next step of getting it to the consulate, which feeds in kind of nicely to what I was considering talking about today, which was attachment. It seemed appropriate under those circumstances. And when I got to thinking about it, it's a fairly significant issue with the whole immigration process. You know, due dates and time of processing and getting answers and all that stuff is around our expectations, and we get attached to it even if we don't notice it until we get frustrated. I think Thunderduck's situation with his driver's license exchange is one of those examples. It's month after month after month. Is it now? Is it now? Is it now? Managing those expectations can be incredibly difficult, especially when the impact of the results are so huge on our lives. So the whole immigration process is one of managing expectations, and the only solution that I'm aware of for attachment is letting go. And how do you do that when something is so important? So to me, how I define attachment is needing things to be other than they are, right? Yes. So there's the old, things are what they are, and we throw that one out a lot. But attachment is a little less clear sometimes. It's the grasping of an idea or an expectation that things should be different than they are. Yeah. And the observation in Buddhism is that all suffering is the result of attachment, needing things to be other than they are. So I use this example because I was people ask me, what if, I forget how it goes. Anyway, I often say it's be easier for me to say what I haven't done than what I have done in my life. But I was a preschool teacher at one point, and I observed many, many little preschoolers running around, falling down, hurting themselves. And it just really hit me, the distinction between pain and suffering, that, pain is in the event, the suffering is the attachment to something. Is a child running around falling down, and say two children, and they both fall down and they skin their knee. And they both come to you crying, oh, my knee, my knee, my knee. And then you clean it up and you put a bandage on each one. And one just says, thanks. And they go off and run and play. And the one says, oh, my knee, it hurts. Oh, make it stop hurting. I can't go back and play. So that one is an example of letting go of attachment, like taking care of the pain. Pain's gone, boom. The suffering exists and or the pain isn't gone, but the focus on the pain is gone. I've let go of the pain, I'm off to play. Where the other one, the focus remains on the pain and creates suffering because they need the pain to stop in order to be okay. And that in a nutshell is how I try to simplify the distinction between pain and suffering. And it's a tricky balance. Because the pain, the thing that happened, in this case, let's take it to the DMV for me, or the immigration process, the stuff that's happening is our focus, right? That needs to change. And then we get all upset and we spend 3 months being upset that it's not different than it is, rather than saying, what can I do about it? Do that and wait, let go of it. It's not in my control. So we get back to that issue of control. So a lot of it is in the managing of expectations. And I've been working on this one for years. I didn't even realize how many expectations I had and how upset I would get when they weren't met. I mean, I had friends who got afraid around me because I was not dealing well with an unfulfilled expectation. Something was supposed to happen a certain way. Getting a new. I'm sorry, what?
It was as bad as that you actually how they had you in their understanding and experience was that you were somebody likely to react to something not going your way.
Yeah, well, I never had a tantrum or threatened anybody with violence, but my face would get red. I'd get an expression. I'd be really trying to control how that internal almost rage that someone had said this would happen this way, and it's not happening this way, and that's causing other people to have to wait, and that's looking bad on me. So ego's in there too. All that stuff is going on because the phone wasn't delivered to the store when I was supposed to pick it up.
Outrageous.
I got comments from friends that their energy was kind of, ooh, back off. James is getting into that space.
He's going there. He's going there. Yeah, that's right.
It's going to explode. And I realized I don't want to be that person. You know, that's not who I choose to be. But that was well over 10 years ago. And because a good many of my friends are what I'm referring to now as ancient millennials, they're in their mid to late 30s. So, you know, they're moving on in age. Such a different way of setting up schedules and making arrangements to get together that change at the last minute almost constantly. And for someone who wasn't used to that, for someone who values a commitment, and I take a commitment as a promise. So if I say I'll be there at 7, I'll probably be there at 6:50, but I will definitely be there. To have someone say, oh, you know, this came up, so I'm going to cancel, you know, at the time we're supposed to meet, was very difficult for me. And so I got lots of practice in letting go. I think I made a mention of the expectation of the world conforming to my standards was far less likely than me conforming to the world standards. So that was my practice.
James, this is so fascinating because I'd like to add something, if I may. We are anticipating the arrival of Christina this morning, so you and I can make Christina very welcome. I think she's struggling with some of the public transportation, which we often speak very positively about. But I think it might be the heat. Who knows? It might be a busy weekend in Lisbon, and they're still catching up. But she'll be with us in a little while. In the meantime, we'll just chat and hang out. You have got Will Rogers on your side this morning, though, haven't you? I think
I do. I think that I looked at it after I posted it. I said, I think they punctuated that incorrectly. I think that first period is supposed to be a comma moving into the next phrase, may, but.
Okay. So the worst thing that happens to you may be the best thing for you if you don't let it get the best of you. And that's exactly what you're talking about this morning, right?
Absolutely.
Is when it starts to eat you up and you go into all those scripts about, well, it shouldn't be like that. The unfulfilled expectation, one of the 3 great upsets, of course, what is it? An unexpressed communication, an unfulfilled expectation, and a thwarted intention. There are only 3 kinds of upsets. You and I have both done the Landmark Forum, and I think that those great insights come from there. As I'm sure do many other techniques for letting go. I mean, basically that's the gist of what your thrust this morning is about, letting go, isn't it? And if I may, I find what really helps as well is some practical action with it. So I guess with those kids, you've thrown some magic dust on their grazed knee, which has been the practical action that has resolved for at least some of them, if not all of them. And then with the driving license situation, I guess, you know, if you do all you can possibly do, there comes a point where letting go is the only intelligent thing to do, right?
Well, if you don't want to be living day-to-day suffering at some level of suffering, and again, it's all about the choice. So you notice, oh, I'm in that situation in the store where I'm about to be all enraged internally, or am. It's like, if I notice, I can choose something else. And that's what the practice of letting go has been, is ongoing noticing, choosing, and then acting accordingly. Which always, I mean, this may be getting redundant at this point, always when I notice it, I start with a deep breath. Because that will always settle me down and help me to get centered and focused on taking the action appropriate for what I choose. I don't want to be suffering. I don't want my friends to be afraid that I'm going to, you know, be an asshole or something, you know. I don't want that. So,
well said. No, and I did make the connection there that suffering is not intelligent. I would stand by that. I mean, pain is inevitable. It's a bit like when you buy a car. I don't know if it's the same in the United States, but you know, some things come as standard, some things are optional. And I think pain comes as standard for human beings. It's part of the dynamic in which we live, which, you know, the Buddha and other great spiritual teachers very, very strong on this sort of stuff. Pain is standard, but suffering is optional. And I would say, I would be as bold as to say, it's not intelligent to suffer. Whilst it's inevitable that we find ourselves in pain sometimes. I don't know, maybe that's coming all over a bit preachy and judgmental, but I would go as far as to say that.
Well, I know for me, I talked before about being pissy, being in that, like, when I wake up for some reason. And then saying, well, it's okay to do that. You can make that choice if you want to. There's nothing wrong with being upset. You can be upset if you want to. You don't have to change a thing. So that's another thing. So what do you choose? It's, well, okay, I'll just be pissy right now. And it's like that in that moment, it's like, why would I do that? So what you're saying about intelligence or logic or whatever it is, it's just like, why would I choose to stay in this state if I know I don't have to?
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
I think most people will shift in that awareness. Most people will, they'll figure that out and say, oh, that's right. I don't like how this feels. I'm going to change that. But some people get stuck in it. Some people aren't even aware that they're stuck in anything. So it really is a matter of the practice you've had in becoming self-aware and making choices around that.
Yes, and getting Mr. James Holley onto the screen on a Monday morning as well, which will help with that. The big test of our work this morning then, James, is to see if anyone wants to fess up to letting go of something this morning. Keep it clean, everybody. A sneaky dad joke. Be thankful it's not snowing. Imagine shoveling the snow in that heat. Very good. Where's me? I'm a bit slow on this, but you definitely deserve a rim shot for that. Okay, and how do people dress up parading? Well, if Deagle, if you look closely as I was doing, some of them weren't very dressed up, were they? They barely had pieces of string covering certain parts of their anatomy, which is an outfit I'm going to be shopping for after the show. So the TEDx is the third one to happen. Do you like a TED Talk, James? I'm guessing you might do from time to time.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, they got a format to them. I saw a really brilliant parody of a TED Talk because there's definitely a way to it, isn't there? And there was a TED Talk about TED Talks, which just showed the delivery, the momentary pause. And let me ask you a question. And the look up to the slide on the screen. And in resolution, I leave this with you to a rapturous round of applause, all that sort of stuff. Pam's actually been in a TEDx. So Alcabaca, pretty strong on the TEDx talks. And Thunderduck says, yeah, it looks like the TEDx event is Portuguese, as you might expect. But I think if you go along, it will be a great test of your Portuguese. And I imagine you'll be able to get some sort of help with translation. It would be a great immersion event. And yeah, was it in Portuguese? Please, Pam, can you let us know? I suspect it was. We also have our Sister Musica Festival. I wanted to ask you about this sister with a C. Is that the name of a river or a region over there in Alcabaca? But that Sister Musica Festival is going on for the rest of the month in the Aljubarrota medieval. Aljubarrota, site of a legendary historic battle here in Portugal. Then the big São Bernardo Feira in August. Look at that party. Andy was saying, yes, good morning from the party capital of Portugal, Alcabaca, or the Silver Coast, giving you a run for your money there, Andy. And I expect other regions will do the same as well. Bon dia Alegria. Hope everyone had a great weekend, says Pete. Got my picture up yesterday, and it looks amazing. Have you put your lovely windmill up yet, Carl? No, I've still got a bit of a question mark as to where to mount my Austin. But maybe I'm getting a bit too precious about that, and I just need to hang it up there. Stop grinning there, James. Honestly, what's going through your mind at the moment? It's usually a series of talks and music throughout the day, says Pam, the TEDx in Alcabaca. We have a young singer called Jura, who's one to look out for. She's already been on TV and appeared at Nos Alive. Thank you for that, Pam. And look, Thea and Sunil, we finally made it. Been in Lisbon for a month now and love it. Finally made it. That's a whole 4 weeks of lovely life in Lisbon there. But so glad to hear that news, Thea and Sunil, this morning. What you been up to? What was the first thing you did? Tell us about your life in Lisbon, if you don't mind. Oh, going back to handling guests. I should have expressed that differently. But anyway, how your guest strategy is what I'm going to say. I don't have a guest room, so they have to find an Airbnb. Well, that's one way of dealing with it, isn't it? And Nunu, very happy, I think, to see us both here this morning. Good morning to you with a boom, dear. Is that because of the Boom Festival? I wonder, Nunu. Are you ensuring that a legendary event, the Boom Festival? And wishing Stephen Wells a pleasant week. What about the rest of us, honestly? Bon dia Alegria from Elena. I think you corrected me on that, didn't you? The silent H before James. How's it going with your immersion in Portuguese culture? You're at the Mafra Festival. Tell us a bit about that, if you will.
As far as the language goes, a little at a time. I've often said to clients, you can't watch your children grow. You can't see your progress in therapy. I'm discovering it's the same with probably almost anything, but especially with language. So I'm realizing that I'm able to read things and say things much better than I was able to do 6 months ago, or almost at all when I first got here, and that's been 9 months ago. So I'm very impatient. I want to be able to speak fluently now, and I think we all get frustrated with that. But when I step back and I look, it's like, okay, it's better than it was. Yesterday at Pingo Dos, I was standing in line, and the woman at the register made some hand motions to me and said something in Portuguese, which I always say is like, and I stood there and I said, okay, I don't know what she said, so I'll just make a gesture. So I kind of went, like you talking to me? And she said, no, not you, the one behind, but I didn't say anything. She just clicked into English with me. I said, how could she tell?
Yes. It was a terrified look on your face.
Yes. And my housemate Louisa was in the store as I finished up the process, and I did what I can in Portuguese, but she was speaking English to me. And I always try to make a point of appreciating when Portuguese people speak English. And so I thanked her. I said, thank you for speaking my language. That's what I do. And then I compliment them on their English and tell them how much better it is than my Portuguese, which they probably have already observed.
You don't say.
Yes. But then as I was leaving, Louisa said that I overheard the young woman who had helped me saying something to her coworker, and we were leaving, and Louisa whispered, she's saying how much fun it was to practice her English.
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh, see, so happy to be of service. I said, I'm really becoming Portuguese, helping the Portuguese to speak their English to me.
Yes, keep it up. Excellent service to the community. And Mafra, James, Mafra you've been to. I mean, it looks...
Yes. Well, I've been to Mafra a few times. Amazing old palace, huge building. And I've only ever been in the cathedral, which is also huge. That kind of gets redundant when you're talking about the Catholic Church. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a small chapel in the Catholic religion anywhere in the world. So they do their cathedrals really well. But this is in a park kind of behind to the side and behind that, which I had never seen before. And it's called a Pão de Mafra, which bread of Mafra. It's the bread I order when I go to the pasteleria in Ericeira. But anyway, it was the Pão de Mafra festival, and it was fun. It was a beautiful place. Oh, there's a picture of the front of it. I've seen that a lot. But if you go to you can't, but to the left of this building from this image and a little bit behind is a big park with lots of trees. It's really quite pretty.
Extraordinary, isn't it? Thank you, Joel, for these pictures, by the way, that he sent me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had our version of their parade, the parades that you shared, but relative to that, it's the equivalent of a small rural village experience, because there were 20 people in like old peasantry clothing, maybe not peasants, but anyway, they tried to dress in the period correctly, and one drum and one accordion and 20 people, and they're kind of walking down this dirt path. I said, what's this? And Louisa knew, so she said, let's go over here. I said, okay. And they were coming on a stage to dance. I took a little video of it, but it was folk dance, and it was about, as I said, roughly 20 people. And they were playing one accordion, and one guy had castanets, and someone else, I don't know what the instrument is, that goes reachy when you scratch it. And that was pretty much it in terms of instruments. And then, and you had people, doing folk dancing. I made the joke because when they first got on, they were just sort of walking in a circle. I said, oh, I could do that. And then they started dancing. I said, never mind. I could not do that.
Yeah.
And the thing that really impressed me with that is there was stomping in it, and they were on a stage. So there's like stomp, stomp, like that. I was like, wow. And so really the energy of the stomping really brought it alive. It was a lot of fun to watch. So I videotaped some of that, and I took a photo of the entrance of the park that I sent you. Oh no, I didn't send them to you yet. I'm going to.
Good. Okay. Well, we'll look forward to that. Yeah, we do like a bit of dancing here, don't we? And learning some of the skills, the Portuguese skills, such that we can bust them out when we go to parties and so on. A few mysteries. Christina is with us. I hope she got a cup of coffee ready or a glass of water. And she's already getting questions coming in. So lovely to welcome Christina in just a moment. People are glad to see you here. We're solving a few mysteries, though, before we do that. Sister is Cistercian monks. Should have known that, of course. Jim White responding to what you had to say earlier on. Same teacher taught us about crafting your mood for the day. I suspect there's an earlier part to that. Jim saying, hi, Christina, you made it happen for us. Thank you so much. I'll give that directly to Christina when she's on the screen. Driving licenses, so random. Christina might have something to say about that as well. Jim saying, good morning. Bon dia, Gilda, James, Carlito, and the Gumpers. Carlito, I get called that from time to time, and I like it. I thought I was alone, James, going through the license thing also. Not fun, says Joe Diaz, who's in down the road from me.
I feel you, Joe.
Yeah, that's right. You can have a support group, can't you? That's a practical step. There we go. A teacher of mine taught the idea that upset is optional. And if you can catch yourself, what is that? Let's conclude then on this part of the show. That 3-part process of yours, James, finally this morning.
Notice.
Yeah.
You have to notice it before anything can happen. Once you notice, make a choice.
Yes.
Third part is take the action appropriate for that choice. And there is sort of a fourth that I don't think should be missed. It wasn't taught as I learned it, but it was added on as an addendum, which is celebrate. Notice that you took the action that made your life better. You took action. So celebrate, yeah, I did that. Good for me.
Superb, James. Thank you. Stick around, right? Because we're going to give Christina a great welcome to the show. But
absolutely.
She has, unfortunately, like you and Gilda, she doesn't have her own theme tune yet. But we will play Gilda's theme tune just to get in the mood for some migration Monday malarkey straight after
it's
this.
Gilda P on GMP every Monday morning. Her approach to self is oh so fine and always reassuring. It's Gilda P on GMP every Monday morning.
Okay, no theme tune, but some of this for Christina.
Hello, Christina.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
Put your hand up. No, open the fingers. Come on. Look.
But then I turn like everybody can see my green screen.
Yes.
So
make a great swimmer.
So what's going on in Lisbon this morning? Is it busy with trains late and all this going on?
Well, the trains are late because there's a strike with the boats.
Oh, the strike with the post, did you say?
Boats. The boats, the ferries.
Oh, okay. So everybody's off the boats and on the trains. More
exactly.
people.
Exactly. Lovely. Lovely Monday morning.
Well, sorry it's been a stressful start for you. If you had been here earlier, you'd have learned how to let it go with James. But
I need that so much.
Well,
deep breath.
Deep breath. You look fine. You look very happy, and we're so glad to have you here, stepping in for Gilda, who's on holiday somewhere in Portugal and having a great time. We hope and having a good rest. Christina, I don't know if you've met James before. Have you met each other? Did your paths cross at EI?
Not yet.
Nice
to meet you.
Okay. And James sticks around for a while because he likes to hang out and chat with Gilda, as I'm sure he will do with you as well. Could you introduce yourself to us? What is it you do over there at EI? Some know you. You're a legend there. But for the people who don't, tell us what you do.
It's like, what? You don't know me yet?
Yeah, exactly. That's so rude,
it's even offensive by now. No, well, I've been with this company since 2017. And all I've been doing since then is pretty much D7 visas and helping people settle in Portugal.
Right, excellent. Okay, well that's really, yeah. Is that it? That is incredible work, isn't it? I mean, you know a thing or two about D7s, and clearly helping people settle in, as Jim White is saying here. You made it happen.
Thank you, Jim.
quite a claim, isn't it? Thank you so much. And the questions are starting to come in. Then we'll say goodbye to James in just a moment, because we've had this from Gina C. You might have to do a bit of on-the-spot counselling here, James. Gina C saying, "Bon dia from the Appalachian Mountains." Isn't that fantastic? "I almost hit a large black bear on my way home tonight and can't sleep." Now, you're going to get wild boar possibly in Portugal, badgers and foxes and so on, but probably not large black bears. That sounds terrifying. Monday is my favourite GMP show. Unusual heat here also this summer. Yeah, it's happening all over the world, isn't it? So should we do a quick process with Gina so that she can sleep now? I think the breathing's important, isn't it, James?
Absolutely. I just want to say I'm happy that you didn't hit the bear, Gina. And
yes,
she and I spent a little bit of time here in Eddie Sadler when she was here. So I'm happy you're okay. And maybe you can focus on that part and get some rest.
Yeah, lots of love to you, Gina, from all of us here. And to you as well, James. Thank you so much for being with us on a Monday morning. And we'll see you again in person next Monday. And, of course, on the show in the comments as Slug on a Rug for the rest of the week. Cheers, mate. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
There goes James. There goes James. And we are fully into the Migration Monday matters now. And do you want to say anything more about yourself and what you do at EI? I mean, what's a working day like? Long and busy, I suspect, isn't it, Christina?
Long and busy, yeah. Well, first thing I do whenever I come to the office is reply to all of my emails, or try to do so, and see if there's any emergency that we need to attend from our clients. And then pretty much I spend most of my afternoons now just doing calls.
Okay,
doing consultations with clients, answering questions.
Yeah. Okay. So a global job. I mean, we were talking about globalization and this TEDx talk that's happening in Alcabaca. You're truly at the front line of that, aren't you? Dealing with people all over the world. That's pretty exciting, isn't it?
It is, because we see people from all over the world, and it's impressive that everyone's just falling in love with Portugal.
Isn't it amazing? It's showing no sign of letting up whatsoever. So even more people on those trains quite soon. Okay, and hopefully those boat pilots or whatever they call themselves get the pay rise they probably deserve as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So first question in for you then from Animish Music. Hi, Christina. With regards to the D7, in practicality, what should be the wage for a successful applicant? Are applicants with minimum wage requirements of 705 qualifying? So I suppose what Animish is saying here is that, yeah, it's all very well that there is a legal requirement, but in practicality, in reality, what's really required here?
In reality, yes. If you get a regular income of 705 euros, you can qualify. But that's not enough. You need to also have savings, investments, and I never recommend anyone with less than at least 30,000 euros to apply for a visa.
In terms of savings?
In terms of savings, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Only the income is not going to be enough. That's just begging to be denied.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And this has been a question that's coming up. Of course, you said that Portugal remains a great favorite of people moving here from around the world, and some people have dispensed with their passive income or stopped working. And I imagine there are some workarounds for this, but the basics remain the same, just as you've outlined them there, right?
Yeah. And the other way around also happens. There are a lot of people that think that just because they have a huge investment wallet, that they can apply for the D7. If you don't have that income, you cannot. You can be denied. Yeah.
Okay. So you need to reconfigure your savings, your investments, your cash. I suppose what we're talking about here is some cash to back you up and some cash flow to keep you going. These are the two.
Exactly.
The two wings of the money bird when it comes to migration. And I suppose turning your investments into income is a little bit easier than suddenly having to save up 30 grand.
Yeah, it is. But also then if you are turning your investments into a regular income and generating an annuity, that will probably, well, as people probably know, it will get a cut on your investments, and it won't be the optimal situation. But if you want to have a successful application, better to do so.
Yeah. And I mean, while we're about it, if we take those two things into consideration, the fact that there is increasing demand and interest and a love of Portugal, and there are these requirements that have been pretty much quite similar, haven't quite the same over the last, well, since we've been talking, since we have been having these sorts of conversations. Are you anticipating any changes? What's your sense of that?
Oh, definitely.
You think there's going to be changes in the pipeline?
It's going to have some changes probably in the future. We don't know yet when, or when yet. Well, because our government was talking about creating new types of visa, one for work search, so people could just come to Portugal and find work instead of getting a work permit, which implies that you already have a work employment contract or for rendering services or something like that. So a work search visa and a digital nomad visa.
Yes.
And once those come into play, the D7 visa will completely change, definitely. Because right now, it is for passive income, but you can apply for a D7 visa while you are working remotely. And you can present that income to get your D7 visa.
Yes.
But once those visas come into play, especially the digital nomad visa, that will be specific for people that are still working. So whoever it will still be working by then will no longer be accepted for the D7 visa.
But I'm seeing that as a good thing, right? I mean, this is in many ways those new visas are easier and will undermine the requirements of the D7. So
we hope so.
Right, because a lot of people, as I began the question, do you think it will change? There are people embarking on the D7 thinking, no, please don't make it any more difficult or arduous. But actually, in many ways, it sounds from what you're saying that it could actually be easier. People might delay their retirement, for example, and continue to work on a nomad digital visa work visa arrangement and find it actually easier coming to Portugal. Is that right?
Hopefully, yes. We just don't know when that's going to happen. It can be October, it can be January, it could be October next year.
Anytime.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, so, although we are quite early into a political term, aren't we? So that I think that's quite a good sign, isn't it? Either at the beginning or the end of a political term is quite a good time for change, isn't it? Probably not the middle bit.
Okay. Yeah. But again, they might just be throwing us a little bit of some breadcrumbs just to make us happy. Like
they wouldn't do that, would they? I don't think the government's would do like that. Okay. we have a lot of
not delve into that.
Cristina is awesome. She helped us get Elder. I wonder what that is. That a bit of Portuguese in there? I think here possibly. Thank you. Hi, Cristina from Shanu as well, who was here earlier on. Rishab, a great regular and often with a question for Gilda. For you this morning, a question for Cristina. Any experience with the Croatia embassy? I'm planning to get the digital nomad permit, 1-year residence, you were just talking about there, and then applying for the D7 from there. Well, I've got a question to add to that. I mean, do you need to go from nomad to D7? But first of all, what's your experience like with the Croatian embassy?
Well, to be quite honest, I specifically and personally, I've never dealt with the Croatian embassy, but I have colleagues that have, and apparently the experience is good.
The experience.
So it shouldn't be troublesome. But you can't apply for a D7 visa from within Portugal. You cannot apply for any type of visa, of residency visa from within Portugal.
Yes, of course. I mean, the logic that would obviously be the case when you think about it, because the visas are about coming here from somewhere else. So you're already here. So like me, then you're thinking, why would you do that? Why would you change from one to another? And it's having said that, you can't anyway. So Rishab,
there might be other options, but not a D7.
Yeah, okay. So, Rishab, maybe you could explain the second part of your question there. But the good news is that Croatia are a nice bunch to deal with. Not always the case, which is what I want to ask you about now in conjunction with this question or more of a statement, really, more of a bit of help. When caught up in a long bureaucratic process, which, of course, you are from time to time, Cristina and your colleagues there, and you have done all you need to do. Sometimes you just need to sit back and trust the process, give it time. Now, I know you do that to some extent. But part of what EIA do for people is not to sit back, but actually lean forward and whisper in the ear of the VFS or other government department, hold on a minute, this should be done by now. What's going on? And this is what I was talking to some people about last Thursday. You are known to step in. And I think some people in VFSs and consulates around the world know of you as well. They don't mind. They maybe don't, I'm not sure they love you in quite the same way as some of the people here do, right? So what's your strategy? You just tell them how it is, do you?
No, well, we do it in a way that is not offensive, obviously, because we need to maintain a relationship with those places.
Yes.
But we only try to step in when indeed all legal timings have been surpassed.
Okay.
For instance, we know now that the consulate in Washington, D.C. is a little bit overwhelmed, apparently because most people in America are changing their address to apply for Washington, D.C.
Funny that. No, okay, let me stop you there. Why are they doing that?
Well, because in San Francisco, you needed to go in person, first point. Yeah. And then now they want you to pay the VFS fee before, well, at the moment that you book your appointment to go in person. Yes. Because San Francisco was just so overwhelmed with appointments that, for instance, by now they would only have appointments for November or October at best case scenario if they didn't do this. And from what I see, they still have appointments for August now that they made this change. So it's a good thing. But apparently, a lot of people are changing their addresses to jurisdictions that belong to Washington, D.C., not only because of this fact, obviously. There are tax reasons, political reasons. So, but they are putting a little bit of a strain in Washington, D.C. They have been seeing an increase of processes there, definitely.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you, and you were going to say more about Washington, I think.
No, that was it.
So there comes a point where, by law, you're able to say, "Look, come on, I'm working for a client here, and this is beyond the acceptable statutory limit. What can you tell me what's going on?" And I like it. Yeah, you have to maintain the political, maintain the professional relationship there. But this is the great thing, because I think a lot of people who try to do this process alone wouldn't know that they could do that, and then if they knew they could, they wouldn't know how to do that. And you have you're known to these people, aren't you? And they might even think, oh, that's a call from Christina, I need to get all those deadlines sorted.
I wish it was like that, but no, it's more like, oh my God, here comes that nagging beep again.
Well, I think many people here will be glad that you are that nagging beep. Hi, Christina. Hank has a question. Will you risk residency if you work in Portugal before you get your residency card? Great question. Thank you from the Stelikas this morning.
Again, I saw that email already.
Yes.
Because I was reading my emails in the and I saw that email. And to be quite honest, I only recommend that after you get the residency permit card, just to be on the safe side. Because technically, the residency visa does not grant you the permission to work, but the residency permit that you get after that visa will.
Okay,
so just to be safe, it's just a matter of a couple more months, isn't it?
How awful is that he's not going to be allowed to work? He's just going to have to go to cafes every day, learn Sueca maybe. Yeah, there are worse things that can happen to a man, Hank, so enjoy it while you can. So that's great. Thank you for that question, Connie, this morning. Hope you're both doing great there. Expats Portugal. No, the boom deer isn't related with the boom. What is that, me or you with that little alert there, Christine?
I don't have any alerts normally in my.
I've got something really weird. That's
I'm hearing you too.
Are you? Wow. Okay. I don't know what that is, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
No, the boom deer isn't related with the boom festival. And yes, I insure. Of course he did. There's not a thing in this country that he hasn't had some part in insuring, I don't suppose, by now. Pete, my university experience was a little different. I remember Emil sat next to Slobodan Milosevic at the School of Slavonic and Eastern European Studies. A little different. My goodness, yes, absolutely. Right there, Pete. How are you this morning, Pete, by the way, weather-wise? I know there was a blaze over in Fundao. I hope you guys are okay over there. Me and Nuno, I suspect, have a little more eclectic musical taste than the Boom Festival. I think at Boom, I don't know if you've been to that one, Christina, but it's a lot of And we will go out with
a lot of trance music.
We will rave our way to work this morning. Did you see the bats inside the library? Now, this is very interesting. Antonio F. and I think Joao F. was saying that in that lovely Mafra building that we showed earlier on, this wonderful place here. Isn't it fabulous? Yeah. There's a library with ancient books, and they let bats fly in the library to kill and eat the flies and the flying pests that would otherwise destroy the book. Do the bats not? I mean, what immediately occurred to me, Christina, and sorry for sharing this if anybody's having their breakfast at the moment, but I did think the bats might poop on the books. So maybe there's another creature that eats bat poo that goes in after the bat. Circle of life. Yeah. I can't wait to see the library and the bats. So I guess it's a bit like a horror movie when you go into the library there. There are bats hung up, and you're reading your book, you get a book out and you blow the dust off it, and you can see bats hanging up. It's like an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer in there. Smash that like button. Oh, and it looks like the library of Coimbra has the same strategy. So bats in the libraries of Portugal. That's quite amazing. So Gina C.
Pioneers.
Oh no, sorry, go on. So what did you say there, Christina?
Pioneers. That's what we are.
In so many ways, the Portuguese pioneers, we hear about this in these incredible little ways so often here on the Good Morning Portugal show. Look, Gina C., it'd be a miracle for you or anyone to see a bear in Portugal as they are extinct. But sometimes we receive visits from Spanish bears. So bats and bears this morning. And apparently, is there a government initiative to help bears learn Portuguese as well? Then they would see the stop signs, wouldn't they, on the Spanish border?
Definitely.
We'll see what we can do about that. Okay, so a question did come in from Gina C. How much do you need to have in a Portuguese bank for the D7? You were saying 30K would be a good... What's the statutory? What's the legal requirement?
The 30K is in general, okay?
Yeah.
It can be checkings accounts, savings accounts, investment accounts. In Portugal, we normally recommend a minimum of 17,500 euros.
Yep.
And that is the equivalent to 2 years minimum wage, which is what you need for the 2-year residency permit.
Yep, there you go, Gina. All right, very straightforward. Thank you very much. And Christina, look, for you from Rishab. I think he approves of your answer earlier on. Hi, Christina. We never met you, but you helped us early on when we were still in the States. Obrigado. And this must be the case for you, Christina. You have helped many people, some of which you know, and many others who might just come up to you in the street and say, hey, you're that Christina. You helped us move to Portugal.
You don't know me because I didn't show up at the office and give you a hug, but
yes, there you are. Question for Christina then. So he's moved from Croatia, I think. It was Rishab who asked about Croatia, wasn't it? Rishab, any update regarding the New Delhi embassy? Have things improved? I think I know the answer to this. No,
I'll just keep this safe.
As we suspected. So that's one of the embassies that Christina might be calling this week.
We call them every day, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. Christina, it says, AGL, good morning to you. Thanks for being here. I'm a UK citizen. My social security is from the USA. Oh, that's an interesting combo. I meet the monthly income requirements for Portugal, although I do not have savings. Do I qualify for any type of visa? Well, a UK citizen, it's going to be a D7, isn't it?
Well, it should be a D7, but since she has have no savings,
tricky one.
It's gonna be tricky.
Yes.
What I would recommend, since you have a social security pension, I would say just wait a couple of months, get some savings up, because after all, you'll need that to move to Portugal. I don't know if you've heard about the rental market these days, but it's quite an investment that you need to make from the get-go to get that visa, or to make sure that you get that visa. And so, savings are essential for any kind of move, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. Now, but however, from what I'm gleaning from the conversation we've had is that people do go along to their interviews without the necessary requirements. And do they sometimes get through because of other circumstances, or do the authorities take a balanced view and think, okay, well, you might not have enough in the savings, but we like what you've said here and we like the setup that you propose? Can that happen?
To be quite honest, we have had some cases of people that just show up at our door with the D7 visa on their hand, and they don't have even the NIS.
Right. And what? And they get through?
And they get through. I don't know who people who do they know wherever? But people, this doesn't happen to everybody. Okay.
No, of course.
So,
Yeah. No. Let's be very clear about that, because
exactly.
it's too stressful, isn't it? I mean, the whole point of you having quite a rigorous set of requirements, I think, is so that, and this is what I hear when people work with EI, they breeze through, they go along with the lawyer, and the lawyer talks to the person inside the appointment at the CEF, and they look at each other and go, "That's it, really? Oh, okay. Let's go and have a coffee. Let's go and have a coffee and a pastry." And that's why you have those standards, isn't it? Is because you want it to go like that. Now, if you do turn up with only €7 and no NIF number, that's going to be pretty stressful, isn't it? To be in that situation, and the chances, your odds and your likelihood are pretty low in that instance. So that's
you
why
might have been lucky getting a visa, but then when you get here, now you have to run around and get everything done, because you don't have anything but the visa.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and maybe a few challenges to face. Okay, so that's why EI have such rigorous standards, is because they have a very high success rate, and those two things go hand in hand.
We make sure that you get the visa and then the residency permit. We don't rely on luck.
Yes, well said. Should we stay in a country for 1 year before applying for the D7? We'll refer you to the earlier answer. The D7 is for applying when you're outside the country. We're moving to Cyprus. Oh, stay in a country. Sorry, so somewhere else. We're moving to Cyprus soon, and we'll be obtaining residency for 3 years. We're planning to apply for D7 visa after 2 to 3 months in Cyprus. Well, if you're a Cypriot resident, you can then come to Portugal, can't you?
Well, as a resident, you can just come as a tourist.
Yes, indeed. But so would that be a useful strategy? Would you recommend that to move to another country? What are the chances for somebody who's done it in that way, like Shanu here?
Well, it depends. Really, it really depends on the profile, because maybe there's a way that we can have them apply for a residency permit from within country. But for that, we need to analyze his profile and see if there is anything we can do. Otherwise, after 2-3 months in Cyprus as a legal resident, yes, you can apply for a D7 visa from there.
Yeah, okay. And the call is what might be useful here with CRISTINA or somebody else from the team. And you do that, don't you? I mean, the pivotal moment is to create that call, isn't it? And there's a small, and I think very modest charge for that. But that really gives people a sense of whether they're applying for something tangible and it's going to happen. It's very clarifying, isn't it, to have that first consultation call with you, right?
I think it is, yes, because we are there pretty much to clear all of the questions for the client. And what they normally do already is have a full list of questions, because they either come from expats or they've seen the videos online and know all about the D7 visa. But still, there are some little gaps that are missing of information, or something that was not properly understood. And that's what we are here for, to make sure that you understand the process from A to Z, and to make sure that your profile fits the D7 bill or any other type of visa. And we find you a solution. We find you an alternative.
Yep, there you go. And if you are, as CRISTINA alluded to there, if you're a premium member or premium plus member of Expats Portugal, you get a discount on EI services as well. So I'll put the link to EI to A, which I'm understanding more and more. It's a really good play on words, A, isn't it? And I know that's becoming a much more popular greeting in Portugal when people meet each other. It's A, so we could actually be advertising you whilst greeting our friends here in Portugal. So there's the link anyway to the business directory, and you'll find your way to CRISTINA, Gilda and team, and you'll be able to have that first consultation there. Gina C with a bon dia, James. Hopefully she's asleep now. CRISTINA from Jeff Hill made it happen for me too. Look at this. It's quite amazing. Hopefully Gina is asleep at 4 a.m. in the morning. Bears have to eat as well. Well, that's true. Fortunately, they didn't get Gina this morning, who can now be snoozing and relaxing into at least a few hours sleep, we hope, for you, Gina. What's your experience, asked Moaz, with the consulate in Dubai, please, CRISTINA?
Well, very good up to now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Up till now, all good.
All good. There you go. That's very straightforward. Thank you. And this is what we've come to expect from CRISTINA. That last webinar we did together was brilliant. It was fact filled and fun filled as well, with your very direct answers. I think someone's offering us €975,000 here. We need to have a meeting after the show, CRISTINA. and make the most of this offer, I think. This makes me sad. Living in the US and UK depleted my savings. My Portugal dream is fading. Well, we don't want to make you sad or upset, AGL. As Christina said there may be other strategies. So don't let that dream fade. Let's see what we can do. Get in the forum, see what other people have done with their strategies. And let's keep our fingers crossed as well for the digital nomad and work visa, because that will be another way in as and when, or if ever it is announced and brought into the law here. Any news on the release of residence cards for UK nationals that became residents of Portugal in 2020? Now, you said earlier on your main business is D7s and settling people here. Do you deal much with the Brits and this particular issue?
Well, this particular issue is now with the attorneys at our team, because they should be rolling out any day now. But still,
yes,
like,
okay.
As SEF, where are you? We can't blame the SEF for everything in the world, and unfortunately. But yeah, it's like, can you please, pretty please, get a move on that? Open up appointments for these people.
But not yet. It's not happened yet.
But not yet, yeah.
They're still on it, Kate. They're still on it, pressuring to have the appointments come available for the last bit of the conversion from the QR code into
should be any day now.
Okay, should be any day now, which will make quite a good acronym, I would have thought. We take a little bit of time to look at some Portuguese sayings, which we have from TDuck here, Christina. You may or may not like these. You may or not be able to reaffirm or check the veracity. It's a fact check as a Portuguese person. Estás comigo, estás com Deus. You're with me, you're with God. With that person, you are safe and will have everything you need. Oh, it sounds like being with grandma or granddad, doesn't it? Is that a saying that you hear?
Is.
Oh, very good.
It is.
In actual fact, you can make that the EI slogan, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, that could be a strap line for EI. Let's suggest that to Gilda. Do tempo da outra senhora, in the time of the other lady, something old from a past time. Do you ever say that?
We do say that, but we normally we do that in reference to the time where we were under a dictatorship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it refers to Salazar as well as other
the lady is Salazar.
Is that right? Okay, so it's a euphemism.
I think that's how. Yeah. It's supposed to be.
I'm so glad we got that cultural insight for you. So in a time when it might have been unsafe to say that, or people still after the time of not feeling safe, people still refer to it in that rather what would we say, lateral way. Wow. Já formiga tem catarro. The ant already has phlegm. Now that's not very nice, is it?
It's not very experienced. Yeah, but that's it. Yeah.
Someone young, inexperienced, acting like they're older and know what they're talking about. Have you ever said this in your life or heard it said?
Oh, so many times.
Seriously, the ant has phlegm. I'm going to try it. Já formiga tem catarro. Just like that. That's somebody.
Especially when it's kids trying to nag you about something that, oh, I know better. No, you don't.
Wow, the ant already has phlegm. That's extraordinary and possibly useful as well. So Dad jokes.
And it could be used for that and for when they're trying to be bossy.
Okay, all right. So just like a bit of a pushback with the youngsters that they need sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So we've asked you about British QR/ residency cards. The other thing, of course, that you may have hoped might not have come up this morning was about driving licenses. Although there is some good news, isn't there, with in the last weeks with the driving licenses. T-Duck says, I have a temporary license, so all good. It's just that life is so wonderful. I need something to complain about. Isn't that great? If all you've got to complain about is your driving license exchange, you're a very lucky man. And you know that as well, T-Duck, I'm sure. So driving licenses, the news came out last week. A lot of countries, and there will be a list, that you don't have to exchange anymore. Has this been good news at the EI office, Christina?
Well, it's not good news because we lose business, but I have to be honest, but at least our clients will be happy now that they don't have to go through this process of dealing with IMT. It's just, and it is a long list of countries. It's countries that speak Portuguese and everybody from OCD.
Yes.
OCDE, yeah. So
OECD, yeah. Not everybody who's got OCD, because that would be quite an interesting policy change. But unfortunately, Yes, let me just make that really clear. Christina is not saying that you have to have OCD in order to have an automatic license exchange. It's the OECD. We're not making light of a medical condition there. It's just an interesting. It would just be an interesting world to be living in if that were the case. Yes, and if you're over 60, it doesn't apply, does it? Is that the other part of it?
I don't think if it is over 60 or 65, I'm not sure on that. But yeah. To be quite honest, it just sounds too easy.
It is, yeah, there is this, isn't there? Because it was like at the beginning of the news, it was like, yay, there's all these countries. You don't have to bother with that anymore. It's like, unless you're over 60. Oh, really? That's a lot of people actually who are on the D7 visa. It's going to be either already happened or will be happening soon. And then what happens? Then you're back into the old territory, aren't you? Of doing not necessarily doing an exchange, but actually being approved as a driver in Portugal, because in 60 years of age, you need to have some sort of retesting, don't you, here in Portugal?
Well, I think the retesting is not that complicated because I think it's just a medical scan.
It is, yeah.
So
it's not
like medical clearance, like, oh, you can see, okay, wonderful.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying because it's called the psychological test. Now, when I exchanged my license, because you had to at the time I did it, I was told you're going to have to go through a psychological test, which I thought, this is it. I'm not going to be able to drive. It sounds really onerous, doesn't it? It's like, I'm never going to get through that. And I think being able to get through the door of the doctor's office and hand over however much money it was and give them my SNS number was enough of a psychological test to have me passed for driving here in Portugal. So whilst it
that's how demanding we are very demanding.
Well, I approve of that psychological test there. I feel safe on the road that other people have had to make that same journey. But first of all, you do think, yes, this is fantastic, and then it goes into the long grass, doesn't it? The devil is in the detail. And it would appear, Christina, there are some things they haven't thought through, and this does happen from time to time, doesn't it?
Okay. Definitely. A lot of times in Portugal, unfortunately, yeah. It's like, let's do this, everybody will be happy. And then it's like, oh, we should have thought about this. Yeah.
Okay. We'll make another announcement in 2 months' time. In the meantime,
now you do need to do a real psychological test. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, the psychological test is waiting for your driving license, I think. Bon dia, so happy you missed the bear and are here and healthy and able to share the experience with us. Shh, I think she might be asleep now. What happens when the digital nomad runs out? Is this a joke? No, it's not. In my mind, I was seeing a digital nomad running out of the shared workspace for a moment to get another latte or whatever. So any prototypes or serving suggestions of what the digital nomad visa will look like and how long it will last for, Christina?
I think it will last forever, and it will be pretty much for people that can work remotely. So that's why I think that it will change a little bit the scenario for the D7 visa, because people that are still working remotely and applying for the D7 visa, if they are still working remotely, they will not be accepted for the D7 visa. They will have to request this kind of visa instead.
Yeah.
But until it comes into force, we don't know what will entail. I think it will probably be a little bit easier than the D7 visa because it shouldn't have as many requirements. But then again, when does it run out? Well, it runs out hopefully when the digital nomad person goes into retirement.
Or, I mean, given that they're a digital nomad, the clue is in the word nomad, isn't it? Is that they might move. They won't get kicked out. They're going to go somewhere else, aren't they? If they're However, my prediction, Christina, is that their heart will be won by Portugal, and then my nomad ways are over. I am no longer a gypsy or a nomad. I will roam no more. I will make this my home. So there you go, Stephen. Moaz, I thought you're supposed to apply for the golden visa when you're in Portugal.
Well, a golden visa is not a D7 visa. What kind of a question is that? Haven't you seen the videos?
Yeah, no,
Haven't you seen the videos?
I think that was me confusing things by saying you know visas suggest that you need to be out of the country.
Oh, because it's called golden visa. Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
No, my bad on that, Moaz. You're forgiven. I'm a nomad traveler from the US. When in the US, I live with my brother. No residential address. Is there any visa I can apply for without a residential address of my own? Good question. Good morning to you, Bob. Thank you for that.
Well, hello, Bob. Don't you have a driver's license that has an address?
There you go. Dealt with simply. Let's see what happens there. No, he uses his brother's bicycle as well, but we shall see. We shall see. Because of Christina's experience with the New Delhi embassy and my wanting to leave here ASAP, I plan to move to Croatia on a DN permit and then apply from the Croatian embassy and not New Delhi. Well, there's your strategy right there. Then I understand that makes complete sense. Thank you for explaining, Rishab. Great to have you here this morning. For a SEF appointment from Ishara Mudawanti, for SEF appointment, do we have to provide documents which are not older than 6 months? Concerned about criminal record from my home country, which has a validity of 6 months. Thank you, Ishara. So those documents, how fresh do they need to be, Christina?
Well, Ishara, if for the SEF appointment you need the criminal record from your own country, then the validity on that is 3 months and it needs to be apostilled.
3 months and apostilled, Ishara. That is the
If your country does not have apostille, it needs to be validated at the embassy.
All right. When Hank wakes up, that will be the news for him. Don't you dare go to work, Hank. Go out and have a beer or a pastry instead of coffee.
Wait a couple of months.
Wait a couple of months. Don't you have to be a resident of a country for 1 year before applying through any embassy consulate? Good question. Shanu knows his stuff, doesn't he?
You should. But
so you should, but go on. What's the but?
The but is you can apply because you are a resident of that country.
Okay. So you go ahead. I mean, technically, you need to be 1 year, but you can go ahead and do it anyway and see what happens. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Shanu, for that, and thank you, Christina, for sorting that out there. Yes, I was about to say the same, Carl. What to do with guano, the bat poop? Yes, I wasn't the only one thinking that. Carl, they cover the old tables so bat poop doesn't ruin them. Bats don't go for the books. Okay, fair enough. That's sorted out. The library. The library of Mafra is so beautiful. Library heaven, says Kate there. And thank you, Christina, from Gina as well. How long does it take, Shanu, from the initial appointment at embassy to the SEF appointment? That's going to vary, isn't it? Concerned about criminal record from my home country, which has a validity of 6 months. So you as well there.
Again, if you request a residency visa, then you don't need to show, again, a criminal record for the SEF appointment.
Shano, there you go. Bon dia, Carl and Christina. How much is an EU citizen retiring in Portugal required to have in a Portuguese bank account? It doesn't apply, does it, for those moving around?
They don't. They can have just show a bank account in Portugal with 100 euros.
With 100 euros, there you go. That's for instance. I don't want anyone to think now that you have to have 100 euros in there. You like take all the rest out, just leave that's a for instance. And Leah, that is such a good question because we have heard of people going to the camera to do this, or to their freguesia to get their EU citizenship ignited here in Portugal. And sometimes people have asked for to like a show me the money question. Are they meant to do that, or is that just somebody being very efficient?
They are meant to do that. Yeah, they are supposed to ask people for, okay, you're here, you are a EU citizen, but do you have money to sustain yourself? So they should ask for bank statements. From what we are seeing, most times now, they don't.
Okay, interesting. There you go, Leah. That's easier. I have a consultancy business, and
which doesn't mean that they won't ask you. It depends on where you're going.
No, good point. And again, Leah, you could ask in our Leah. Sorry, I don't know which way to say it, but you could go in the forum and say, for those of you who've rocked up a camera recently to become a local resident, which is the best one to go to with that? What did they ask you?
So you can get a house around that vicinity.
Yes. Yeah, I have a consultancy business and have 3 clients on a monthly retainer. The total income from them is around 3 times the minimum wage. Can I consider it as passive income when applying for the D7? I don't see why not. What do you think, Christina?
Totally.
Yeah, okay. The bat poo thing has got wings, so to speak. More specifically, how do they keep it off the books and furniture? Perhaps I'm too interested. Yes, I think you probably are. I think we can move on. Let it go, James. Are all applications of D7 from India going to New Delhi? What about Goa? So what about other places to report when you're leaving India?
Well, there are a bunch of places where you can apply in India. They all work terribly.
Oh, you shouldn't say that when I've got a mouthful of water. That nearly got
sprayed. To be quite honest, at this time, I don't care. It's terrible.
Yeah.
The service in India is terrible. Awful.
Right.
And everybody in the world needs to know this.
All right, there you go, India, and there will be Indian civil servants quaking in their boots with that music and saying to you,
yeah.
we've got to smarten up our act here. Christina said so on that Good Morning Portugal show. What are the? Can you tell us what some of the offices are then, where people can connect with their process?
Soon, Mumbai, I think they still have one.
Yeah.
Now I need to go and get my list.
No,
Like,
fair
no.
enough. Don't worry. I mean, it's a safe bet, isn't it? But the key question there are there others other than New Delhi? So
Yeah, but they all answer to
all
the
the same.
embassy in New
Okay.
Delhi, so it's.
And of course, with the Goan Portuguese connection, is there a Goan office as well? Or the
Yeah.
Okay, there
Yeah.
is.
We wish there was a preference because of Goa and Portuguese history and all of that.
Yes.
There is.
Well, I'm hoping as well that when the EI go to visit the Goan embassy, you're going to take me with you, and we're going to go and see how we have a little exchange trip, aren't we, to Goa? And
Definitely.
Okay. Hola, bom dia todos. Any news about not having to exchange UK driving license if you're a resident in Portugal? Well, you don't have to. You don't have to change anymore, and you're way under 60. So I think you're safe, Capricorn 12. But do carry enough money to pay the fine if you do get stopped, and keep the receipt. Keep the receipt, just so that when you fight it out at great cost, you'll at least get your fine back. Because this is the thing. This is the problem with this. Is that it might not go out on all fronts, and I think with the road checks going on at the moment, it's possible that the police will ask you to pay a fine if according to them you're not following the law, which you can appeal. But strictly speaking, under 60 with a UK driving license now in the covered by the OECD, you shouldn't have a challenge. You shouldn't, but you still might. Yeah, you shouldn't. So they cut. You won't let it go. The slug on the bat poop. The bats don't poop on the. I want this to be the last of this now, James, for heaven's sakes. They cover those 18th century tables with skin. What? So this gets even more incredible. The tables are covered with 18th century. No, the 18th century tables are covered with. I don't know what century the skin's from, but they're imported from Imperial Russia back in the day. It's going to have to be a place you go and have a tour, isn't it, and see for yourself. I knew about attachment from the Buddhist perspective, but I still needed to hear it from you this morning. Obrigado to James. Yes, great value this morning again. We're coming into our last minutes here. I suspect there's a whole load of questions. This is what happens here, Christina. Have you enjoyed yourself this morning, stepping in for Gilda?
Yes, very much.
Good. I thought you might.
I want to do this again.
You will. See you next week. Yeah, you can. You're on again next week. If that's joining the party, Christina. Not sure the Seoul embassy is much better than India. Okay, so it's a competition now. Shano, once you get your resident permit, you're a legal resident. The requirement to apply from another country is that you have legal residence. There you go. We've got a panel working on this. If you are still under the withdrawal agreement, you still need a criminal record check. If you are. Sorry, that was a question. So if you're under the withdrawal agreement as a Brit, do you still need a criminal record check? As part of a D7, you will, won't you, Christina?
Well, to be quite honest, I don't understand the question.
Oh, okay. So this is with the withdrawal agreement of the Brits and Brexit. Now they have to have a D7, and part of the D7 is a criminal record check. So you will have to have that. Yep, you still.
Oh,
you
yeah,
do.
Definitely. It can be a ACRO or a DBS check. You can even choose. Lucky you.
Oh, okay. So choose the fastest one, because that's the challenge there. Okay, Bob Tapper, it's his former address. The clue's in former, I suppose, but you got to have something showing that it is your address. Is that right? So going back to
you
Bob's
just need to show that you have an address. It doesn't need to be your actual address.
There you go, Bob. There you go. That's
and then you can apply with no problems. By the time that you get there, you can say, "Oh, once it's ready, please mail it at this address."
Okay, there you go. Christina, how much? Look, we know this already, Raj. You're just rubbing it in now, G. Raj. Yeah? How much time is the New Delhi Consulate taking to process a D7? Loads of time.
It's between 8 months to a year.
Seriously, that is awful for the people going through the process, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, because you get the intention of denial, and then you need to fight it.
Okay, which takes you.
It's as simple as this. Pretty much every process that goes through India will be rejected, and then you need to fight it.
Okay, there you go. Do you get a NIF online? It does happen. It does happen. But slug on a rug straight onto that. Not as I understand it, you can do it personally or assign a fiscal representative to do it for you. Let's get the answer from Christina for the OLP this morning. What's the best way to get a NIF?
Well, I don't know what people mean by getting a NIF online because it depends on what you are talking about.
Right.
Because there is a service, and now there is a website called NIF Online, but that's a service that you buy.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not actually going into the tax authority like if they had a website and just click on a button and get it. No.
Yeah.
To get that done online on your behalf, you need a tax representative.
Yes.
Obviously, you can always come to Portugal and try to get it done by yourself. Depending on the country you're coming from, you might not need tax representation, but in most cases and in most scenarios, you need tax representation, and those people will get the NIF for you.
There you go. Okay. There, OLP. There is your answer, and I think OLP is already grateful before you even got the answer there. Thank you so much, Carl, Christina. Great show, James. Great show, also fantastic. So, can you give me a couple more minutes because we've got a few more here? Is that all right? Okay. I'm a resident on a D7 visa. It says Chukwudu Onyekwere. I heard family reunification takes longer. How long? We thought we were going to get away with talking about family reunification as well as licenses this morning.
Oh, how long? Who knows when the SCF opens appointments again? Because the problem is that the SCF currently has those appointments just shut down, and when they reopen those appointments, they will open for like 2,000 slots, and there's way more than 2,000 people waiting on family reunification in Portugal. So you see where this is going. Some people will get the appointment. A lot of people will not get the appointment and remain in limbo until they reopen again some more slots.
And that's what I want to ask you about, remaining in limbo, because Chukwudu goes on, do you suggest I bring my family on a tourist visa instead, then convert their visa to D7 visa residents when they're here? We've heard before you can't really do that. What is the situation for being in limbo? Is that a comfortable position to be in? And can you say, well, I do want to reunify my family, but I just can't get a slot? Is that permissible?
That is permissible, yeah.
Okay.
And right now, all visas are extended until the end of this year. So if you are here under those conditions, you are perfectly fine to stay.
That's great news. That's great news. They're there for you, Chukwudi. I hope that's helpful. Cindy B, late to the party, she says, fondle the like button. Great to see Christina today. She is the best. Oh, I'm not sure how we're going to break this news to Gilda. But anyway, that's my problem. That's my problem, not yours, Christina. If you're not following the law, you haven't registered your license with the IMT, are liable to a fine if stopped by police. Yes, notwithstanding, understanding the latest changes there, Pam. Thank you for being here this morning, Pam. Is your criminal past coming back to haunt you? I think he's asking for a friend. Nadrunstef D, great to see you. Seth appointment is next month. Thanks to you, Anna and team. How lovely is that? You're the best. And thanks to you there as well from Nadrunstef. And Joao F, a compliment from a fellow country person. I am amazed with Christina's English. Wow.
Thank you.
And do the libraries sell guano? I'd like to book. Very funny. We'll come back to those dad jokes after we've said ciao ciao to Christina, at least for this week. She'll be back on next Monday. Great job, Christina. Please do come back. So that people want you back, Carl. Don't be naughty. We like Gilda and Christina. Okay. Great learning. I'll be in touch, Christina. Thanks. How about that from Bob? Christina, thank you so much. It's been fun this morning. I'm sorry you had a stressful start to the day. I hope your journey home is easier. I trust it will be. And Yasmin quickly in there. Thank you, Christina and the team.
Oh.
We're gonna have a dance now, as we like to do. Sure. When Gilda's leaving, so I will see you next week. Lots of love to you, thanks to you, and to, our very best to all the team as well in the EI offices in Lisbon. Is it hot today?
Not really, or at least not yet.
All right, so it's safe to dance. Let's do it. Ciao, ciao, Cristina. Muito obrigado. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
What an incredible debut. Muito obrigado, Cristina. Your English is phenomenal. I'm only hoping to even begin speaking Portuguese as well. Yeah, well said, Slug on a Rug. Bom dia, Carl. Please have Cristina on more often. She's both informative and hilarious. Yes, thank you for that. My dog smells. Thanks for your help from G. Raja this morning. And thank you, Cristina, from AGL. Thanks, Cristina, from Jeff and from Shano. Thank you, Carl and Cristina. Hearts from OLP. And have a great week, everyone. We're not done. We've got some dad jokes. And if you stick around, if you're thinking, I've got to go do stuff, I have a video for you I'll put the link to after I started playing it, because it's the most delightful thing. Actually, I'll stick it on the show blog as well. If you go to coffee.com/GMP, ko-fi.com/GMP. Got some lovely, Philomena sent me a beautiful video of all the best Portuguese singers singing on one track. It's going to be difficult for me to play that one, I think, because I'll get a copyright strike, but I'll stick it over on the show blog and I'll put the info connecting to the last video I'm going to play this morning. That sounds a bit ominous, doesn't it? With the emphasis on it, the last one of this morning. I'll be back tomorrow with another live stream. Don't worry about that. So I have dad jokes to share, and forgive me, you know what it's like on a Monday. It's very busy. We've all sorts of stuff to squeeze in, but I think we've done the Portuguese sayings we have, haven't we? And it was very interesting to hear about ants with phlegm, bats with guano, and some dad jokes now. And we obviously can't play any dad jokes without a little bit of a warning.
Warning.
Oh, no! Now, Deagle did sneak in a dad joke, didn't he? Thank goodness it's not snowing. It would be so unbearable shoveling snow in this heat. But here are the dad jokes, the official dad joke purveyor, T-Duck, with it's inappropriate to make a dad joke if you're not a dad. You're a faux pas. Oh, my word. Oh, yes, that's a good one, isn't it? Not that many kids would understand that, but I think, you know, that's a platinum level dad joke there. The older I get, the more clearly I remember things that never happened. It's so true. And a police officer just knocked on my door and told me my dog was chasing people on bikes. That's ridiculous. My dog doesn't know how to ride a bike. And be thankful, as I mentioned just now, this is worth repeating. Be thankful it's not snowing. Imagine shoveling snow in this heat here in Portugal. Be careful out there. Be careful in the UK with the high temperatures today. And yeah, stay hydrated. Be as we said with the Portuguese wildfires. Be alert. Be prepared. Stay safe, folks. And I have a video now for you. This is so delightful. At the best of times in Portugal. And this, talking about the Mediterranean diet, is quite an extraordinary video. And I will put a connection to it, a link to it, as I said, whilst it's on the screen. It appears to be about the Mediterranean diet and produce here in Portugal. And it very beautifully does that. It seems a bit random in a way. And, you know, why would a video of this kind be made? I'm so glad it was. I'm still trying to find a context for it. One context would be the Happy Homesteaders Get Out and Grow show tonight, 6:15, where actually I should mention we're talking to a lovely Marielle, I believe her name is, from the Palmela, the Miracle of Palmela, I think it's called, which sadly much of it was burnt in the Palmela fire of last week, and they've got a fundraiser going on. They're called the Miracle of Palmela because it's a food forest, and they've in a couple of years they've turned around this I think what might have been plantations and a bit of a barren wilderness before into a very productive and fertile food forest in just 2.5 years, I think. Sadly, they lost a lot of it in the last week, and we'll be talking to them and about their fund, what the progress they've made and why it's a miracle, as well as the help that we can give them to restore it to its former glory and beyond. But before then and now, I would like to present to you a beautiful video detailing all that is good, great, beautiful, and wonderful about Portugal. I find this so moving, and I hope you will too. And on that note, I will wish you a good day, a great week, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao for now.
A dieta mediterrânica é hoje considerada o mais saudável e sustentável padrão alimentar do mundo. Baseada num estilo de vida de convivialidade e respeitador da biodiversidade e dos recursos naturais, reconhecida pela Unesco como Património Imaterial da Humanidade. Muito embora a dieta mediterrânica seja associada sobretudo ao sul do país, ela está ainda enraizada na cultura rural da região centro, nomeadamente no seu interior, dada a proximidade e influências do determinismo geográfico do sul. É disto testemunho a disseminação de uma das culturas mais emblemáticas da dieta mediterrânica, o olival, tão característico da paisagem desta região e que toma forma na qualidade única dos azeites aqui produzidos em olivais tradicionais e de montanha. Ao longo dos séculos, a movimentação dos diferentes povos do mundo e das suas culturas por toda a Península Ibérica, que através do comércio se fixaram nestes territórios de inigualável valor, deixaram uma marca indelével nesta cultura milenar que ainda hoje queremos e ousamos salvaguardar. Estas marcas estão bem presentes no território da região centro, que se estende ao longo do rio Mondego. Um rio fértil que é o berço de uma imensa biodiversidade e de riquezas naturais, suporte de inúmeras atividades ligadas a áreas tão diversas como a pesca, a gastronomia, a produção tradicional de sal ou o turismo. Também aqui se desenvolveu um dinâmico sistema agro-silvopastoril, alicerçado nos imensos recursos naturais disponíveis na região, nascendo nestas terras uma grande variedade de produtos hortofrutícolas. Os sentidos aguçam-se quando falamos do que aqui brota. A maçã Bravos-Molfe, que nasce nos pomares desta região, e a cereja do Fundão são exemplos emblemáticos e símbolos da qualidade e diversidade das frutas da região centro. Protegidas pelas serras do Caramulo, Montemuro, Bussaco e Estrela, as vinhas desta região têm características únicas, nascendo aqui alguns dos vinhos mais importantes do país.